In this video, we will be doing a recap of the 2005 South Korean historical drama film The King and the Clown. In the beginning of the film, the first scene shows illustrations of the latter part of the 14th century, which was the foundation of the Joseon dynasty in Korea that ended at the start of 20th century. There were 27 kings who ruled during those years, and each king had personal secretaries whose role was to keep the king's diary. Upon the passing of the king, the court historians compiled these records for his successors. This huge collection of edited diaries, referred to as the Joseon dynasty's royal records, survived completely. The king of this story, King Yeonsan, as per royal records, is exceptionally cruel. No king earlier than or after him shared his lavishness. However, the notes also provide a picture of him as a man of great sensitivity and judgment. Next scene is a performance of the clowns set during King Yeonsan's reign. Part of an entertainer troupe are the two male street clowns and tightrope walkers Jangsang and the woman-like and beautiful Gong-gil, who specializes in female roles. After every show, their manager hooks up Gong-gil to rich customers. Jangsang, who is sickened by this practice, always tells Gong-gil not to go, and he defends him against the manager. But Gong-gil will still go with the manager because there's nothing they can do about it. One day, Jangsang took away Gong-gil from the rich man he was sold to, and they run away from the manager. The manager's staff chased them until they caught up with them. Jangsang begged the manager to let them go, but he refused. The manager hit Jangsang and Gong-gil couldn't stand it, so he killed him. The two left after Gong-gil slaughtered the manager. The pair traveled until they reached Seoul. The next scene is a show where the two meet three street performers, Yuk Gab, Chil Duk and Pal Bok. Jangsang showed his skills and the pair challenged Yuk Gab. The two win, and they ask where the biggest show spot in Seoul was, and are told that there have been no more performances since the king stopped the show to expand his hunting grounds. And since there were no more performances, gambling became their form of entertainment. In the gambling den, Jang Nok-soo is the talk of the town. She was a prostitute before she became the king's concubine. This gives Jangsang an idea to earn money. He encouraged the three to join them, and they formed a group. They come up with a skit to satirize the officers and members of the royal court, that includes the king and Jang Nok-soo, the king's concubine. People were so happy with them that they made a lot of money from their shows. One day the king's consort, Chosun, saw them mocking the king in one of their performances. Chosun arrested them for treason. During the investigation, they cannot endure because they were severely beaten up with a whip. Jangsang also can't bear the pain, so he talks to Chosun and makes a deal with him. He said that they should make the king laugh at their performance or they will be executed. Chosun agreed, and they were taken to the palace. Before they start, the three regret why they agreed. Yuk Gab said they would rather be beaten than die. Jangsang tells them to calm down and just do what they always do. When they are about to start the show for the king, Yuk Gab, Chil Duk and Pal Bok are too frightened to do their part. They start the play, but the king is not happy to see the performance. The three are too afraid because the king is not moved until Gong-gil and Jangsang make the king laugh with one last joke. The group became part of the king's court because they succeeded in making the king laugh. At the palace, they were served a lot of food which they were hesitant to eat at first. They didn't think they would be able to eat again after the show. Next scene is at the palace main hall. While the king is very fond of the group, the ministers are against it and want them out of the palace. Jangsang was depressed when he found out. He didn't think that the king was weak. Chosun said not to blame the king and instead turned the attention to his ministers. Because of this, Jangsang asked for Chosun's help to audition for more performers. The group decided to make a poster asking for other showmen to audition for the group. Pal Bok notices that Jangsang's handwriting is identical to Gong-gil's. Jangsang said he learned to write by copying Gong-gil's style. They made many posters and posted them all over town. A lot of performers come to audition. With the growing number of performers, the king is happy to see the groups play. This time, they were performing a skit about corruption within the court. It was revealed in the performance when the clowns ridicule the members of the council by insinuating that they are accepting extravagant gifts in exchange for favors. The king is enchanted by the show, but seeing that the council members are not pleased, the king turns on them and one by one, he asks if they are convicted of what they see in the clown's performance. The king catches one of the ministers when he interrogates him and dismisses the corrupt minister. The king commands to cut off the minister's fingers and display it to serve as a warning to all the other council members. The council members talk to the king about what happened, saying that punishment was just right for the crime committed, but the clowns should not mock the dignity of the ministers because it will weaken the authority of the government. The minister continued to protest until the king became angry and dismissed him. Another minister begged for mercy because that minister had been faithful to the previous king. The king questions his loyalty, saying that if he is so, then he should be loyal to him as well. The minister said that the former king was a wise father to the people. The king has gone mad and ordered him to leave. After this, the king went to the clown's house and looked for Joon-gi. As time went by, the king fell for the woman like Joon-gi, whom he often calls to his private room to play finger puppet shows. When the king is sad, he will send for Joon-gi, who will comfort him. Jang-sang didn't like what was happening because he was jealous of Joon-gi's relationship with the king. Next scene, the king orders Chosun to have the clowns perform a skit that will show how the king's mother, who was the favored concubine of the previous king, was compelled to commit suicide by taking poison after falling victim to court deception. Jang-sang doesn't want to do the skit and convince Joon-gi to leave the place, but he does not agree at the time. Joon-gi said he will leave, but he will finish the play first because he is very interested in the skit and they won't be able to do the same again anywhere else. They were now doing a show depicting the story of the king's mother. When they were on the part where the king's mother is being forced to take the poison after being betrayed by envious concubines, the king thought the show was real and that his mother, played by Joon-gi, was really dead. His mother's death left a trauma on the king's subconscious, and this trauma played a significant role in the disturbance of the king's character. The king becomes more and more unstable. He then slaughters those who played concubines at the end of the show. The queen mother tries to stop the king but fails and dies from shock. Once again, Jang-sang asks Joon-gi to leave the palace with the group before the king kills them too. Joon-gi, who initially condoles with the king, comes up to him and begs the king for his freedom, but the king says no. Jang Noksu, the king's favored concubine, arrives as Joon-gi bids farewell to the king. She saw the new robe the king had given him, which was the symbol of an official. Jang Noksu is envious of Joon-gi, so she scolds the king, telling him that the robe was just a shabby gift compared to Joon-gi's work in exposing his enemies. Jang Noksu becomes increasingly infuriated by the thought the king endows on Joon-gi. She told the king that Joon-gi features define him as a woman. To make sure that Joon-gi is not a woman, she undressed Joon-gi, but the king stopped her. The king loses interest with his consort Jang Noksu because of what she did to Joon-gi. When Jang-sang saw the robe the king gave to Joon-gi, he said to him that he had no intention of leaving the palace, but Joon-gi denied it and said that it's not what he thought it was. In the next scene, the council members gather with the king, who gives rank to Joon-gi and orders a celebration in his honor. The minister opposed this because they were still mourning the queen's death. The king insisted that he had granted the rank, so there should be a celebration. The council suggested that hunting would please the king, because they will not kill but will only race. The king approved to hunt, but Jang-sang did not join the trip. The king is very happy during the hunting trip. He doesn't know that the council has plans to kill Joon-gi. The ministers try to have Joon-gi killed during the hunt, but the street performing team saw that Joon-gi was in danger, so they followed him. Jang-sang sees it too and saves Joon-gi. The ministers did not stop from trying to kill Gong-gil, which always failed, resulting in the death of Yuk-gab when he was hit by the arrow that was meant for Gong-gil. The minister tried again but was stopped by the king's arrow. It angered the king when he saw the minister who tried to murder Gong-gil, so he killed him. The king's assault against the minister escalates, especially at remarks about the previous king whom everyone feels still rules even after his death. Next scene, Jang Noksu plans to have Gong-gil jailed, so she takes one of the posters in the town insulting the king and she gives out to her trustee the old poster with Gong-gil's handwriting from their audition. Jang Noksu's man brought the poster to the expert and made another one that severely insults the king written in Gong-gil's handwriting. After that, Jang Noksu showed the poster to the king. The news reached Jangsang about the mockery of the king through the advertisement. This at last leads him and the remaining performing troupe to decide to leave the palace because the king has become too erratic. Gong-gil tells Jangsang that he cannot leave the palace because the king refused to let him go. As they were talking about leaving, the king and Jang Noksu arrive. She ordered Gong-gil to write words she's going to say which were written in the insulting poster. They compare the handwriting of Gong-gil to the one that Jang Noksu has and it matches. Gong-gil was arrested and denied any knowledge of it. The king could not believe it while Jang Noksu smirks. Jangsang said it was his handwriting and he takes responsibility for the crime which they falsely accused Gong-gil of because they have the same handwriting. He says that Gong-gil is innocent and that he wrote it. Jangsang proves them by writing what's on the poster. He said that Gong-gil learned from him and copied his style, that's why it looks the same. He said that Gong-gil could not do such a thing because he does not have the courage and that he's the only one who can do it. Gong-gil is beloved by the king, so he can't do such a thing. And because of that, the king ordered Jangsang to be executed the next morning. Chozon talks to the king and he says that he brought the group to the palace to reveal the corruption that is plaguing his court. But because of his desire for a man, he has changed. It angered the king and threatened Chozon that he would kill him, but he said he was not afraid to die. The king got offended and asked him to leave. Gong-gil begged the king to release Jangsang, but he did not listen to him. Unknown to anyone, Chozon made a way for Jangsang to escape secretly. However, he told him that he should leave the palace and don't go back for Gong-gil, instead forget him. But Jangsang did not heed what Chozon said. He returns to the palace and walks on his tightrope over the palace rooftops. This time he mocked the king openly and so loud that everyone could hear. The king saw Jangsang and ignored him at first, but when he said that the king had lust for man because he was fed up with the woman, the king became so violent that he shot arrows at Jangsang. Gong-gil tried to stop the king but failed. The king misses, but Jangsang was caught when he fell from the rope. Gong-gil begged the king not to kill him so that his hands would not be polluted, and kill him instead. The king ordered to punish Jangsang by scorching his eyes with burning iron before sending him back to prison. Next scene, Chozon is seen talking to one of the members of the council and encouraging him to join them because the heavens has abandoned this king, but he declines. Gong-gil remains to please the king by performing a finger puppet show. Because of what happened to Jangsang, Gong-gil tries to kill himself by slashing his wrists, but the palace doctors save his life. The king has lost his interest in Gong-gil. He returns to his consort Jang Noksu and he celebrates with her. Meanwhile, since Chozon did not join the council, they killed him by sending him out to commit suicide. As they celebrate, the people outside are preparing to attack the palace. The king releases Jangsang, who is now blind, and has him walk his tightrope blindfolded. Jangsang, while balancing on the rope, speaks about the story of him and Gong-gil's griefs and sufferings. Gong-gil rushed to Jangsang to join him. They have a conversation filled with much hidden meaning and significance. Gong-gil asks Jangsang what he would like to be when he comes back and if he's to be born again. And he said that he would still want to be a clown. Gong-gil said the same thing, he too would want to come back as a clown. At full length of the film, the cruelty of this king and his court's corruption is revealed. While the king is so happy watching the two together, there is an uprising rage resulting in a strike on the palace. And as people squall the court, Jang Sang and Gong-gil jump high up from the rope together. Jang Sang throws away his fan, signifying the death of both, which was not shown in the film. King Yeonsan was dethroned after the revolution. The story ends with all the performers present, including Yuk Gab, who died during the hunting incident, laughing and dancing as they all walk away in the field. Thank you for watching Movie Recap. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more videos like this.